Welcome to Talking While Teaching. I am Chad Austin. I'm one of your co-hosts. With me is one of my good friends, Mr. Ryan Kopolowski, Kopydlowski. Ryan, say hi to everybody. How you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Man of many words, folks. We have the utmost honor today to talk to someone we have known for a very, very long time. Ryan, when did you first meet Ericca?
Oh gosh, probably when you introduced me to my wife. Was when I met Ericca. So back in college, our junior year in college. So
there you go. Person that we're going to get to talk to today. So Ericca Werner graduated from Central Michigan University, fire up chips, in 2001 with a Bachelor of Science degree with a focus on elementary education. Elementary education, that's the Lord's work. She has a master's degree in school counseling as well as educational leadership administration. She has spent the entirety of her teaching career in Southern California with 14 years of classroom experience in grades 2nd through 6th, and has spent the last 10 years as an elementary school administrator working with a diverse population of students and families. Ladies and gentlemen, Ericca Werner, assistant principal at Harada Elementary. Ericca, thanks for joining us today.
I'm so happy to be here. It's great to see you guys and catch up and get to chat about something we all love.
There you go. I'm going to turn up my volume just a little bit. There we go. I'm hearing you guys, but just barely. So hopefully that's a little better. So Ericca, we have known each other, obviously. We all went to college together. And I think Central is known as a teaching school. When you decided to go to Central, and like I said, we've all known each other for a very long time, was teaching already on your mind when you were going to Central? Was that the plan?
You know, teaching was something I always thought I would do as a child. And then when I was in high school, I went through a lot of injuries playing sports. So then my mind kind of shifted to physical therapy. And that's actually why I chose Central. I knew I liked kids. I knew I wanted to go the child development route. And when I learned some of the anatomy and physiology classes I would have to take for physical therapy, I decided to fall back on my passion for kids and just went the teaching route.
Was your teaching philosophy? I know you've been out of the classroom for a little bit, but I mean, as an administrator, you still have that philosophy of education and what you like to see, from your teachers that work with you and stuff like that. So has your philosophy in teaching changed from being in the classroom to administrator, or is there some underlying consistency with when you went into teaching and it's progressed as an administrator?
I don't think my philosophy has changed, because I think that's like something that's like deep innate with you. I've always had the belief that every child can learn. I think it's up to a teacher to tap into different kids and figure out what is actually going to help them be successful. We are the ones with the training to recognize students' special skills. Mm-hmm. So I think that piece of my teaching philosophy has really stayed the same. That was how I approached things in the classroom. And as I go into classrooms, I think that's still the same stuff I'm learning and watching and expecting from my teachers. Are they really tapping into the differences in kids? Obviously, with a special education background, Ryan, mm-hmm. There's a reason we have individualized education plans, but in reality, every kid brings something unique, and you're teaching 29, 30, 40, depending on where you're at, kids, and you've got to be able to reach all of them in different ways.
Which is a Herculean task. I can't imagine that.
Absolutely.
Now, Harada is where you're the assistant principal. That's in Eastvale, California.
Correct.
What's that community like where you're doing? I mean, you've worked so long in Southern California. I can't imagine what public school teaching is like in California. Give us some background on what it's like to work out there.
So some of the things in our schools are the same. I work for Corona-Norco Unified School District. It's a very large district, 51 schools, wow. Total K through 12. Harada is unique in that it's a year-round school. So we have 1,300 plus kids. So in order to fit them all in the school, we are on a track system. So every month, one group of kids goes off, another group of kids comes back in, they rotate classrooms. So essentially every quarter, every month, we have a different population of kids. The behaviors are different. Wow. The needs on the playground are different. The size of who's on campus is different. So that brings a unique challenge, unique opportunities. to our
say
school.
unique, do you mean damn near impossible? I mean, Ericca,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing, but also amazingly frightening. I mean, how do you cope with that constant?
It's a logistic nightmare.
Yes. How do you
It
handle
takes
that?
a lot of brain power. It takes a lot of brain power as an administrator. You know, I taught for probably 6 or 8 years as a year-round school teacher. At one point, our whole district was year-round because we just had too many kids and not enough schools. It was like the boom. As a year-round teacher, it was fantastic because every 3 months you got a month off.
Yeah.
Right.
As an administrator, you know, we do a lot of things twice because somebody always misses it, and you got to have equity, and you got to make sure every kid gets the opportunity for the assemblies, the fundraisers, the shows, and all of that stuff. So we do a lot of things multiple times. In addition to that, our district has a really growing dual language immersion program, and my school is one of, I believe it's 5 or 6 dual language immersion programs. So one of my tracks is actually 14 classrooms of students who enter school learning Spanish in a 90-10 model. So 90% of their day is Spanish only.
Wow.
So a whole different, not curriculum necessarily, but a whole different model goes into that program on top of everything else.
Yeah.
Yes, my Spanish has come back. Well,
I was going to say, you've got to almost got to be fluent or at least conversational.
Well, I mean, the kids, most of them speak both languages, but I really try to practice with them to keep that model up. It's not always possible, but I do find myself when I'm sitting in classrooms and observing, I type a lot of Spanglish. Some English comes out, some Spanish comes out, and then I go back and do a lot of edits.
That's awesome.
Nice. Now with your schedule as an administrator and everything you're juggling with the way that your school's set up, do you have the opportunity to get into the classroom as much as you would like to see what's going on, or are you pretty, kind of hand tied with all your other responsibilities?
That's a great question because I am always trying to get better at that. We definitely have a lot going on because we're year round. We have to take our time off during the school year, which a lot of times means either my principal or I have to take time off while there's still kids present. So it leaves you dealing with a lot more miscellaneous managerial discipline tasks versus getting in the classrooms. But we work really hard to get out at recess and lunch, get in the classrooms when we can, because that really is where you see the magic and are able to support teachers and kids alike.
Yeah.
I love how you bring up the magic, because that's, on the ground is where the magic happens. Has there been, in your time teaching, has there been a moment or a lesson plan or a teacher that went above and beyond where you're just like, now that was cool, that was awesome?
I see a lot of really cool stuff all the time. I like to be able to dig back into when I was teaching, and I taught 6th grade for several years before I transitioned into the classroom, which is like a whole different world starting in early elementary. But we worked as a team to do, when we did ancient civilizations, to do Greek simulation with our kids. So we spent a really big amount of time as an entire grade level, really diving in and letting the kids experience what life would have been like. So they got to be in city states. We marched from place to place like the Spartan army would. The students took a lot of responsibility for the learning because that's how they earned points in this competition for the Olympics. And so it inspired them to want to go out and be the best for their team. So they did a lot of self-exploration. And to this day, kids are just still talking about that. And, when I left the classroom, my Greek goddess had to be retired. So no one got to be her anymore. And when me and my fellow colleagues get together, we still talk about it. Like, who are your new goddesses and gods? And what are you guys doing? And they've maintained it. And the kids just absolutely love it and still talk about it.
That's awesome. That is so great. We love hearing about stuff that has worked, that has made a difference with students. So that perfect example. Thank you for that. That was great.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most rewarding thing as an educator is, if you're out in the public or whatnot, and you run across some students that you've had, 10 years ago now or more, going on my 22nd year here, and they bring up a lesson plan or a project that you did that really, kind of resonated with them and stuck with them. And they thought it was a lot of fun and stuff. So it's always good to, you really hit home when they bring that up, so many years later. So.
You know what else is really big, and I think it ties in perfectly, is when you find those young people in the community as adults and they are willing to come out of their shell or in front of their friends, come up and talk to you. Like, I have 2 examples that I just got to share because they like stick in my heart. One, I was having dinner with my family, and this kid was a senior on the football team, and they were eating dinner at a diner after a game. And he came up in front of me, in front of all of his senior football buddies, to give me a hug and say hello. And that, like, if you're willing to put yourself out there in front of like your adolescent peers.
He was raised right and had a good school experience. That's exactly what you want to see.
You're in that kid's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yep. That's awesome.
That was great.
Yeah. So that's going off of that too. We have a local Italian restaurant that 2 of my former students' brothers own. We go there quite often and get pizza from there and stuff. And I think I've taken Chad there. I can't remember, but it's cool to see him because the older brother always comes up and gives me a huge hug, and stuff. And it's hard for him to say your first name. They still have to, like, no, it's Ryan. I go, nope, it's Mr. K, and stuff. So it's cool to see that. Like you said, you see him out in the public and thriving and doing well and stuff is really cool.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
So Ericca, with all this responsibility, with year-round teaching, with all the things that go along with being an administrator, what do you do to relax? What is it? Obviously you cheer for the Lions, but what else do you do?
Do you have time to relax?
Do you have time to relax?
I was actually, when I was at the gym this morning, I was thinking about that piece. And when you start to think about what's free time and what's me time and necessary. And I think we have shifted to like the importance of self-care. And that's not necessarily your free time. That's time you have to schedule for yourself because you're better for yourself, for your family and friends, for your community. So, definitely the me time, the self-care, I've learned to do that better. And I hope we all have as we've gotten older and wiser.
That's good. I like that. The self-care me time. I think that it's easy to overlook that, and it's easy to kind of push that out, for us, because we get busy with everything, after school or, just with schoolwork in general, that we forget about that self-care that you need, that makes yourself better for you, for everybody around you. And that's something that I think, because we're so scheduled in our day-to-day lives, that making a conscious effort to schedule that me time, going to the gym, doing something, that helps you mentally and physically is huge.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Ericca, what is it that someone who is maybe in your community but doesn't have a strong tie to the public school system, what do they need to know about what's going on with you guys? Is there good things, bad things? What do you want to share about what's working, what's not? How are you feeling about things? I mean, it can be positive, it can be whatever you want, but I always want people to know your take. I mean, you don't often get a frontline person's take on things, and it's helpful, I think, sometimes to hear it.
You don't. I think the first thing I would say to anybody who's got kids starting school or in school is get into the schools, because school is not what we grew up with. I talked to some people with, kids coming in that are maybe, 20 years younger than me, and it's not how they went to school either. Right. School has changed immensely over the 25 years that I've been in this career. And so I'd say, don't think that it's like it is. Parents struggle with, what do you mean you're not giving my kid a spelling test every week? Well, memorization, we're finding, isn't the best research-based way to teach kids phonics. So, really trying to encourage parents to get in the schools and get involved. And really the teachers too, open your doors back up. Things shut down during COVID, and it was slow to go back to some of those normals. We tried really hard to use some of the new practices, the new technology, and keep that. But some of those other really valuable pieces of bringing the community into our schools took a little bit longer. to get back to. And I think we have to like get teachers more comfortable with having people in. It's not judgmental. It's just letting kids see that parents value education and that we value that partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's the biggest thing. Like, let's get people back in our schools and see what's really going on before you just assume something's not what you think it is.
It's hard, I think, because when people have gone through something like school, they think, well, I've done it, therefore it's just a repeated process. But as you pointed out, education is changing, it's evolving, and what worked in the past doesn't work anymore. Same reason why we don't have the paddle hanging on the wall behind the principal. You know, Ericca, if you had busted that out, if these kids would just be like, I'm calling my lawyer, I'm putting you on Snap, I would have just froze. You know, it's things are changing.
Yeah. And I think that, we always talk about technology and how fast and technology advances and changes and stuff, and that's what our kids are living in, and that's not that old of a process. I mean, I remember when I first started teaching that kids, started having cell phones, and then texting and all that started coming along, and that's just, kind of exploded from there in terms of how fast technology is increasing, and our kids are living in sound bites, and so everything has to kind of evolve and change with that as well. But, I think as well said, like, open the doors for the parents to come in and see what's going on. I think, seeing both sides of the story, and also talking with the teachers too, maybe it'll take care of some of their anxieties that they had in school, the ability to open that communication and start that talk, and that back and forth where, they understand where you're coming from, how you teach, what the expectations are, and then getting their support behind you with that is huge. You can't underestimate the value of that relationship with teachers and parents.
I would think it would be so valuable. Well, obviously, it's valuable to have parent buy-in. But I also think that there's that. I felt it was more of a teamwork thing. Like the teachers and parents were working together to raise the student or to educate the student together. Now it feels more adversarial. And I know that that's not the case, because I know that teachers want what's best for the student. I know that parents want what's best for them. And it's just maybe just working on that understanding. So
it's a miscommunication thing almost, between the teachers and parents. And I think that, you just got to knock down those walls that kind of put that divide in and get those conversations going. So everybody knows that, all right, everybody's here for the student, we're here to see them do well, be successful, and I think, there's just been so much with the pandemic and everything else that's kind of, I don't know, built up a wall between parents and teachers, and I don't know where that disconnect, and I think it's just, cell phones and everything else, there's just that quick response, and there's a disconnect and stuff. So,
well, that's what I was going to say, Ryan. I think we are communicating with our parents more than we ever have. Unfortunately, due to all of the apps and the email and all of that, it's really easy for a teacher or a parent to spout off very quickly. This happened today, that happened today, this happened today. But what we're missing is those face-to-face conversations, or even I try to really encourage my teachers, like if things are not going well, pick up the phone, because there's a lot lost in the tone of an email or a text or a quick message. And there's so much that can be solved by just a conversation, because it makes a big difference. And I think some of those old practices are really quite valuable as we move forward in other ways.
Oh yeah. And believe me, Ericca, if we all lived down the street from each other, we would have been doing this live at our local pub or something. It's just we're on opposite sides of the country, so we had to do this. Now let me ask you this. I know we're doing good on time, but I always want to be respectful, and it's a full day for everybody, but awesome. Is there a resource out there that you really like? Is there something that you use on a daily basis? Maybe it's open source, maybe your district pays for it. But one of the things we always want to talk about, because teaching is so large, because the country's so big and there's resources, thought maybe why not share some? So are there any that you really like that you love to utilize?
I think there's so much value in a lot of different high yield strategies, the videos and things like that. And we've gotten better about getting access to Discovery Ed or any type of recording implement so kids can see and hear themselves and how they're speaking and how they're presenting. But I really am impressed by what's coming out of this AI stuff. And as an administrator, it's helped me a lot, even in just writing letters of recommendation and different things like that. But I'm starting to hear some really cool stuff that take your state standard, take a piece of literature, take a concept. Please tell me how I can make a lesson plan out of this. It's going to include the arts, include writing, and it's magic. We've spent hours and hours when we were young, right? Like, how are we going to do this? And how am I going to make this so the kids are engaged and it's hands-on and it's all these things? And I think technology has put this amazing tool in front of us, and it's really going to be an important thing for teachers to tap into to save themselves some time.
Absolutely. And if it's a starting point where they then take those ideas and run with them themselves, I think that's great. Where you're not, you use all this technology to synthesize data, to bring something together, to put together a model, then you go out and put that into practice. I think that the sky's the limit for all the cool stuff teachers can do.
And for teachers, I don't know, Ryan, you're probably seeing it in the high school. Like, some of our veteran teachers are very concerned. What is ChatGPT going to do to us? And, there are English teachers out there are going to paste a whole thing in to see if it's copyrighted or plagiarized. But we're shifting and teaching kids how to use that to then go in and edit and add your own voice. And so I think it's scary for us older folks who maybe aren't as well equipped with all the tech. But man, if we can embrace it and teach the kids how to use it to their benefit instead of using it incorrectly, we're going to have some amazing scholarly output and learning.
Oh yeah, I think that's the key is the education of not only the teachers. I've got younger teachers too, because we've been doing in-services on AI, and just because there's so much to it and so much you can do with it, that it's that fear of the unknown, and how is it going to be used for good or for evil or what, type of thing. So, I get both sides of it. I think it's a great tool. I think it's a definite resource, and just getting people on board with how it'll help, the positives of it, instead of focusing on the negatives of it, and how people can use it for, not good, but to benefit. To base, go off of the creativity of the student and expand on that, So I think that's definitely something that, as teachers, we get pretty set in our ways, and I mean, and education, technology, we get the new piece of technology and we have it for 15 years, and it's outdated in 2 months. So having it right there at your fingertips is scary.
It's going to be a game changer.
But it is absolutely a game changer. I think it's just so vast that people I think teachers need a little bit more of a direction of how to use it, and kind of demystify it. Will help them see how it'll affect them and their students in a positive way.
Absolutely. Ericca, do you want to do a shout out to any of your current teachers, former teachers, any current students, former students? We always want to give you the opportunity to say hi to, that way somebody might actually watch it. And no, I'm just kidding. Of course, I know people will watch it. You have a loyal fan base, it sounds like.
I just think it's just so beneficial for me as a school administrator. I appreciate my colleagues that I started teaching with, because we get to still have that same banter. And though we're coming from two different perspectives sometimes now, it's really nice to be able to still process and hear that piece realistic, right? My teachers aren't always going to tell me full out what they need and how they're feeling, but it's great for me to reconnect with people who feel comfortable with me to tell me like what's really happening in the classrooms. How are those trainings really going? So for sure, I appreciate my Wilson Elementary colleagues that I started teaching with. But you know, I've been lucky enough to work at several different schools, and you learn so much from every teacher you work with and the connections they make with their students in different ways. And then you share, you know, oh, when I worked with this person, this was something cool that they did. So like, I just think we all learn from each other, whether it's, you know, we see something positive or we see something negative. We get to either, you know, try to copy that, or we see something we're like, I don't want to be that, so I'm going to learn from that and twist it a different way. So I'm very much a fan of like, we learn something from every situation we're in, every person we work with, every parent and kid we cross paths with. So, you know, I'm just grateful to have all of it, because it's ultimately got me where I am now, and still enjoying the job 25 years later.
And that's the last word right there, folks. I don't think we can do much better than that. That's an outro if I ever heard one. Ericca, thank you for being our guinea pig / first guest on Talking While Teaching. We will let you know when this is ready to go live, but Ryan, please chime in.
Yeah, thank you. It's hopefully a start to a long, an illustrious career of podcasting.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, this will be your ultimate claim to fame, Ericca, is that I was the first episode,
the first one.
But now you are my RA partner for 2 years. You are a good friend, and you are a hell of an administrator. And I am so proud to have you as part of the public school education system. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for all the work that you do. And it is noted and it is appreciated.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I love the positive spin you're trying to put back on things, because we're in a time where public education is really getting a beating. So like, the more positive we can focus, we can have on it, the better it's going to be for everyone. Our kids deserve the best.
Yep, absolutely. We got to pull for each other. So
amen. Thanks, Ericca.
Thank you.